Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Michael Fortin, and I'm the Director of Promotion for the Maine Tax Portal here at Maine Revenue Services. It's my pleasure to be your MC for our webinar series on the new Maine Tax Portal for Rollout 2. During today's webinar, you will hear that on December 1st, 2022, the Maine Tax Portal will become available for most Maine businesses to file and pay taxes, view invoices, and much more. You can visit the Maine Tax Portal information page at maine.gov/revenue/portal to learn when you can get started for your specific tax type. It's important to note, after May 31st, 2023, our existing systems, iFile, Meters, and EasyPay will all be deactivated for sales, use, service provider, and withholding taxes. You can prepare for this transition by printing your filing history from iFile prior to May 31st, 2023. Our presenters today will be discussing this further, and I will remind everyone again at the end of the webinar about these important dates. Before we get started and introduce our panel, I have a few housekeeping items to review with everyone. First, the raise hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen will not be used for today's session. However, if anyone has a question for our presenters, attendees can type them in by using the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. The presenters will answer as many questions as possible. If we're unable to address your questions live, we will follow up via email following the webinar. There may be times when you'd like the presenter to repeat a step you've missed, or perhaps you're simply unable to watch the entire session. Therefore, it'll be helpful to know that today's webinar will be recorded and can be viewed by anyone who is registered. There are no documents or presentation materials you'll need for today's webinar. Feel free to take notes, but know you can always re-watch the recorded session anytime you'd like to review the material. And next, we should be reminded there can be unexpected technical challenges with any virtual presentation. Our presenters are all speaking to you live in different locations. We appreciate your understanding and ask for your patience if anyone should experience technical difficulties. Okay, that concludes all of our housekeeping items. We're ready to get started, and it's my pleasure to introduce our panelists. First, we have Lori Brand, Deputy Director from the Sales, Fuels, and Special Tax Division. And joining her is Jason Marple, Tax Examiner from the Compliance Division. And we would also like to extend thanks to Tabitha and Tyler, who are part of our support team, helping us with the demonstration of the Maine Tax Portal. Hello, Lori, and Jason, please take it away for us.
Thank you, Michael. So hello, everyone. Today, Tabitha and I will be demonstrating some existing Maine Tax Portal functionality, and we're excited to show you some upcoming functionality that we will be implementing later this fall. Today, we will be demonstrating how to apply for a new tax account, how to submit a refund application, how to file consolidated and single location sales, use, and service provider tax returns, and how to manage your branch locations. If you have questions during our presentation, please be sure to ask them using the chat function during our presentation. I'd like to note that none of the data used for this demonstration is actual taxpayer data. It is all created in our development environment, and since we are using a development environment, you will see blue populate links besides some fields such as banking information, which will not be available in the production environment. We are in the development phase, so what is being demonstrated may look slightly different once in production. The system is super easy to use and very intuitive, but if you do get stuck, you can visit our website at maine.gov/revenue and view our instructional videos for detailed instructions. Before we get started, take note that preferred browsers for the Maine Tax Portal are Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. Internet Explorer is not recommended or supported. At this time, anyone with a tax type in the first rollout can use the Maine Tax Portal. Those tax types include cannabis excise, potato, blueberry, healthcare provider, corporate income tax, and estate tax, just to name a few. Later this year, we will be including sales, use, service provider, and withholding taxes. All taxpayers with those tax types are eligible to use the Maine Tax Portal and will receive invitation letters containing detailed information on how to utilize the portal and create a username and password, which we're going to show you in this demo. So let's get started. To begin, there are several ways that you can access the Maine Tax Portal. For this demonstration, we will begin at maine.gov/revenue, which is the MRS homepage and is showing on the screen. You can select either the red File and Pay button or navigate to the top menu, hover over Electronic Services, and select the top link for the Maine Tax Portal. At this time, we are going to demonstrate how to register for a new tax account. So let's assume that you're a new business establishing a tax account for the very first time. If you are an existing Maine business, you do not need to register again. Registration is only needed for brand new businesses that do not already exist. However, everyone will need to create a Maine Tax Portal account. Registering a new business versus creating a Maine Tax Portal account are two very different functions. A brand new business would need to do both steps. So to register for a brand new tax account, we'll begin by going to the Businesses panel and selecting Register a Business. We'll select Register a Business again. And the first page that you will see contains instructions that you will need to complete the request and list the tax types that are available in the portal. Remember that we will be adding new tax types in each rollout. To proceed, you will need your federal identification number or social security number depending on your business model. Throughout the application, you will see active help indicated by blue icons with blue text. When you have read this and you're ready to proceed, you can select Next at the bottom of the screen. On the Business Information section, you will be asked to select the type of business, such as a corporation, sole proprietor, or limited liability, to name a few, as you can see from the drop-down list. For today's demonstration, we will be using a corporation. You will also need your business activity start date, which is the date that you plan to start or that you did start doing business. All fields with a red asterisk are required fields, and you will be unable to proceed until those fields have been completed. You'll see required fields in various places in the Maine Tax Portal. Let's select Next to proceed. On the business identification page, you will be asked to complete the business legal name, your ID type, and ID number. Please note the blue bar showing your progress as you move through the application. If you are interrupted or need to come back to the application later, you can select Save a Draft at the bottom of the screen. Selecting this option will result in an email being sent to you with a PIN number that you can use to access the application later. The application will be saved for up to 30 days. You can also select Cancel, and that will cancel the activity that you are in. We're going to select Next to continue our application. On the business contact information page, you are asked to enter a first and last name, a phone number, an email address, and whether you are a duly authorized third-party representative. Selecting this option requires authorization from the business. We're going to select no to that question, but for more information on the topic and for step-by-step instructions on creating third-party access, you can visit our website at maine.gov/revenue and view the instructional videos. Below, you can opt to add an additional contact and their contact information. For today's demonstration, we're going to select Next to proceed. We are now at the business address section, where you will enter the physical address of your business and your mailing address if different. All addresses must be verified with the U.S. Postal Service by selecting the blue hyperlink titled Verify Address at the bottom of the screen. You will be asked if your mailing address differs from your business address, and in the interest of time, we're going to say no and select Next. We are now at the account type section, and from this page, you can select all the tax types that your business is engaged in. Today, we're going to select sales and service provider taxes. And once you have selected all applicable tax types, you can select Next. Since we selected a corporation as our business type, we will be required to add a corporate officer, which we will do now, including contact information. You will need to enter the title, the first and last name, the officer's home address, and percentage of ownership. You'll need to verify the address by clicking the blue Verify Address link and then select Add. The next step on this screen will be to attach documents to support this registration, such as your Articles of Incorporation or IRS Determination Letter, which is also known as an SS-4. To add an attachment, click on the blue Add Attachment link, which will prompt your browser to open, and you can select the document that you wish to attach. Under the type of document, you have two options, and we will select Supporting Documentation and add the required description. Then you can choose your file. Once you have selected your file, click OK and select Next. This page, you are required to select a North American Industry Classification System code, or NAICS code, which is the specific activity code related to your business. You can search for the code using a keyword. Results of your search will show in the panel to the right. If you select a code, a brief description will populate in the bottom panel. Your search may result in multiple pages. To narrow your search further, filter your results by entering a more specific keyword. That's being demonstrated right now. When you have found the code that best suits your business activity, you can select Next to continue. Here, you'll be required to enter the business activity start date for each tax type that you are registering. Since we are registering service provider, you'll enter your activity start date, and you'll be required to enter the service type that you provide, which is in the drop-down menu. You will be asked if you have additional locations to register, and we're going to select No. You must select a filing frequency. To determine the correct frequency, the blue circled I will provide filing frequency guidelines, and today we will select an annual filing frequency. To search for a business code, you can enter a keyword search such as service, which will provide results to select from in the panel to the right. A description of the selected code can be seen in the bottom panel. You can select Next to continue once you've found the code that best suits your business. We will now complete the sales and use tax account information by entering the activity start date. And for this exercise, we will enter a business trade name. You will see a series of required questions. The first being if you anticipate having more than $3,000 in gross sales per year, and today we will say yes. You must identify if you are a marketplace facilitator, and we're going to select No. Again, please note that there is active help available by clicking on the blue circled I. Next, you will be required to describe your business activity. You can go into some detail or submit a small summary. You will be asked if you have additional locations to register, and today we will select No because we'll demonstrate that for you later. You will also need to select your filing frequency and business code, which we just demonstrated. Once you have completed that process, you can select Next to proceed. Here we are asked if we want to sign up for a Maine Tax Portal username today, and for the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to say no. We'll show you that later. So we're going to select Next. And here we are asked to confirm our registration. When the application is submitted, you are asked to enter your email address and again for confirmation. This is pretty standard throughout the Maine Tax Portal for confirmation. You'll see this frequently. When you've done that, you can select OK. And this will result in an email with the application confirmation code. You can also print the confirmation page by selecting Printable View and using your browser's print function. So Maine Revenue Services does recommend that you maintain this information for your records. The confirmation number allows us to locate your application if needed. Upon completion of your new account application, you will receive in the mail an invitation to create a username and password in the Maine Tax Portal. An example of that letter is showing on the screen. So take note of the letter ID and the letter date in the top right corner. Those are pieces of information that you'll need to create your user ID and password using the letter ID function. So now that we have received the invitation, let's proceed. We will begin in the Maine Tax Portal, And there are two ways to create a username and password, and today we will show you both. You can create a username by selecting Create a Username under the Login button at the top right side of the homepage, or by going to the Business panel, selecting Register a Business, and select Create a Username. Both links will take you through the exact same process, so you can choose whichever you like. There are three options, and you must select one. I represent a business or organization, I am a sole proprietor, or I am an independent third party. For today's demonstration, we will select option 1. Again, please note that you can select to save a draft at the bottom of the screen or cancel your activity. We're going to select Next to continue creating a username. You will then be shown the information required to proceed with creating a username. Please make sure that you read that and that you have everything that you need. When you have done that, you can select Next when you're ready. The Validate Tax Information section contains required information. You will need to select an ID type, such as a federal ID, individual taxpayer identification number, or social security number. Because we represent a business or organization, the only option available to us is a federal ID. So next, you'll enter that ID and the account type associated with your business. Today, we will select Sales and Use. So you can select Next when ready, but a note is that if your account type is not available in that dropdown, you cannot proceed with creating a username and password. You have to wait until your tax type is available. The tax type is part of the verification process. So a verification type asks for either the amount due or an amount refunded from one of your last 3 filed returns, and 0 returns cannot be used for verification. You can also use the letter ID from the invitation letter that you received from Maine Revenue Services. Right now, we're going to select option 1 for an amount due or refunded, and then select Next. You will then select the tax return amount button and enter the amount due or refunded from any 3 past filed returns, and select Next. Here you are shown the panel where you will create your username. So at this time, we're going to select the previous button at the bottom of the screen twice, and demonstrate how to create a username using the letter invitation ID. So you would select the letter ID from the options, and letter information can be found at the top right corner of the letter from Maine Revenue Services, again, being demonstrated on the screen. You'll need to enter the letter ID and the date. And when you've done that, you can select Next. And here we're right back at the Create a Username panel. And this is where you will enter your user information, including a username which is created by you. You'll enter your first and last name, email address, and again for confirmation. You will be required to select yes or no for paperless mail delivery, but keep in mind that some types of documents are required to be sent via U.S. Postal Service. The security panel requires you to enter the password that you would like to use, and password requirements are at least 12 characters containing a mix of upper and lowercase letters, at least 1 number, and 1 special character. You can view the password requirements by clicking the blue circled icon beside the word password. To make sure that your passwords are entered correctly, select the blue eye at the end of the password field to view. Passwords are only visible until they match, at which time they will turn to all asterisks and can no longer be viewed. You will also be required to select and answer a secret question. The next panel requires a phone number. The phone type defaults to a cell phone, but you can select the type of phone that you want to use. And then you can select Next. This page is a registration summary of everything that we have entered so far. Verify that the information is correct, and if it looks good, select Submit. You will then be required to enter your email address twice for confirmation. And once you have completed that, you can select OK. You will receive an email containing the confirmation code and have the option to print the confirmation page by selecting Printable View. Next, we will return to the Maine Tax Portal homepage and demonstrate how to submit a refund for sales tax. Now, this is new functionality that we want to show, and it won't apply to everyone. Where you would use this, a situation or scenario that you would use this functionality would be if you were an out-of-state resident, or take that back, rewind, a Maine resident, and you went out of state to purchase a vehicle. You were required to pay sales tax at the dealership, and then you came back to Maine and went to your town office or city hall, and they required you to pay sales tax again. Sometimes documentation is not what we would like it to be, and it's hard to determine sometimes if tax has actually been paid. So if you felt that you had paid the sales tax twice in error, you would be able to follow this process to get or to apply for your sales tax back. So let's continue by going to the Additional Services panel and select Sales and Service Provider Refund Application. You must select one of the options shown, and we're going to select Sales and Use Tax, and then select Next. Here you'll select an ID type from the drop-down menu of either Federal Employer ID or Social Security number. Today, we will select a Federal Employer Identification Number, which is also known as an EIN. You will need to enter the EIN, the legal business name, phone number, email address, and contact person. If you have an exemption certificate, you can also enter that information, although it is not required. Select Next when you are ready. We will now enter our mailing address and verify by clicking the blue Verify Address link at the bottom of the screen. And then we can select Next. So now let's enter some refund information. The amount of the refund that you are requesting is required. And next, you will select the reason for your refund request. For today's demonstration, we will select sales tax paid on the purchase of a vehicle. So you'll need to enter the purchase date of the property and then select Next. You will be asked to provide information supporting your request, such as a cover letter detailing the reason for the refund request, proof of tax paid, and depending on your refund type, you may be asked for additional information. For today's demonstration, we will select and attach a cover letter and proof that tax was paid. So we will add an attachment by selecting the blue Add Attachment link to the lower right, which requires you to select the attachment type and choose a file. So this will open your file browser where you can select the type or the document to attach. And then you can select OK. You will need to select Add an Attachment for each document that you are providing and follow the steps that we previously demonstrated. Our next document will be proof of tax paid. And then choose your file. And then OK. And once you have completed adding your documents or attachments, select Next. You will be asked if you would like to receive your refund via direct deposit. And for this demonstration, we will select Yes. You'll be asked if the refund is going to an account outside of the US, and we're going to answer no. You will then be required to enter your bank routing and account numbers, entering your account number again for confirmation. When you're finished, you can select Next. To proceed, you must select the declaration boxes and enter the name of the individual submitting the application twice for confirmation, and then you can select Submit. You will receive a confirmation number, and to view a copy of your submission, you can select Printable View, and to print the submission, you would use your browser's print functionality. Here we go. Let's select OK to go back to the login page of the Maine Tax Portal. So at this time, we're going to file a sales tax return. This activity does require that you be logged into the portal, so let's do that now. You will need to enter the user ID and password that was created earlier. And once you have selected entered that information and selected Login, you will be asked to set up a two-step verification. The setup is for the initial login only. So select the option that best suits your needs. And for this demonstration, we are selecting email verification. So you will be asked to enter your email address and select Save. While this setup is only required one time, you will be required to authenticate each time that you log into the Maine Tax Portal. On this screen, you will need to enter the security code that you received through your selected authentication method. Once you've entered that, select Confirm. And now you are officially logged into the portal. So your first view defaults to the Summary tab, which is highlighted in blue. And here you will be able to see all of the tax types associated with the entity that you created your username and password under. The next tab that you will see is titled Action Center, which shows the type, the number, and type of actions that you need to take. The Settings tab is where you can set a default payment method, change your mail notification method, and mail delivery. And the final tab is called More. More is where you will find submissions such as your application for registration, messages and letters for Maine Revenue Services, and you can also see your payments and returns or request a payment plan. You can also update names and addresses in addition to account management requests. Now we're going to navigate to the Letters panel and select the View Letters link. Here we can view and reprint any letters sent to us by Maine Revenue Services, such as our retail resale certificates. To print a copy, you click on the letter type link, which brings up your letter. Use your browser's print functionality to print that. If you have a lot of letters, you can filter them by typing a keyword in the filter located on the top right side of the page, which we demonstrated earlier and which is being highlighted right now. So now we're going to demonstrate filing a single location sales and use tax return. Single location means just that. You have one place of business. Each business location is required to have a separate registration number. So in this case, you only have the one. So since we're already logged into the Maine Tax Portal, we're navigating to the Summary tab and looking for our Sales Tax panel, where we can select the View and File Returns link. We'll select File now under the period that we want to file. And each return in the Maine Tax Portal has the demographic questions that you're currently seeing. Some of those are required and are marked with a red asterisk. When you have answered the applicable questions, you can select Next. And on this return, you will see the sales breakdown, where you will first enter your gross sales, which defaults to the taxable sales if you do not add any deductions such as exempt sales or bad debts. Okay, the tax, let's see, here we'll enter the, okay, so let's select Next to navigate. And here we'll enter a breakdown of our sales. And when we're finished, we can select Next. The return is quite lengthy, so we're just going to navigate through the return so you can see the different topics. And when we're finished, we can select Next. All right, here we are at the taxable sales and calculated sales based on the entries that we made in the prior screens. So we're going to review this, and then if everything looks good, we're going to select Next. On the next two screens, you can enter your use tax or fees if you have any to report. They're not required, it's just if you have any to report. We do not have any, so we're going to select Next. And now we can see our total tax and fees that are due with this return. And then we can select Next. Okay, on this page, if you have entered any amounts for cost of goods or bad debt, or if this is an amended return, here is where you would have the opportunity to attach documents to support your claim. It's called the Documentation tab, and if you had any documents, you would add them by selecting the blue Add Attachment link, which we did just demonstrate. And you may be thinking, I've never done this before, and that's exactly correct. This is new functionality within the Maine Tax Portal that we wanted to demonstrate. But all credit requests are subject to review, so if the documents are not submitted at the time of filing the return, We will contact you for the supporting documentation later, which may delay approval of your credits. So again, you would only complete this or attach documents in this portion of the return if you are claiming cost of goods or bad debt credits, or if it was an amended return and it resulted in an overpayment. So here we're going to select Next, where we can see our balance due. You will be asked if you want to make a payment right now, and we're going to say yes and select Next. You will now have the opportunity to add your payment method. You will need to enter a bank account type, and we'll select checking. You will enter your bank routing number and your bank account number twice for verification. You will be asked if you want to save this payment channel for future use, and we're going to say no, although you can if you want to. If you do choose to save your payment channel, it will be available to you the next time you make a payment. The payment section defaults to the current date, but you can schedule your payments for the future if you want to by selecting the calendar to the right and choosing your date. You can also type the date in the field. Your payment amount defaults to the amount due on the return, but you can change that if you're not able to make your full payment at this time. You cannot make a payment that is larger than the amount due, as seen by the error message right on the screen right now. So enter your payment amount in the field below to confirm, and then select Next. Here we can see a summary of the tax calculation and payment amount, and we will select Next. Please read the declaration and check the required box. You'll enter the name of the person that is filing the return twice for confirmation. And then you can select Next. And again, here's your confirmation number. All right, so now what we're going to do is file a consolidated return by selecting the business name at the top left of the screen and selecting the Summary tab. We will then navigate to the Sales and Use panel for the business that we want to submit a return for and select View and File Returns. We'll select File Now under the period that we want to file. And again, there's the series of demographic questions. So let me explain about a consolidated return. A consolidated return is when you have multiple locations that require you to have a separate registration number for each location. Think big box stores that have multiple locations all over the country, actually. Those types of situations, you can set up what is called a consolidated account, meaning you can report under one account number and provide a breakdown for each retail location that you have. So, and we'll show you how to do that in just a second. So here what you'll need to do is answer the demographic questions that are showing on the screen, and then select Next. Again, please take note that there's the Save Draft button at the bottom of the screen, which does allow you to continue to save your progress and continue later. To continue completing your return, you can select Continue Editing, and that allows you to proceed. All right, so today we're going to enter our gross sales, which populates the taxable sales line, just as you saw on the single location return. It's the exact same return. And that populates the taxable sales line. We're not entering any deductions, so we're going to select Next. And since this is a consolidated return, we have two options. We can either choose to enter our figures manually by selecting the blue pencil to the left of each location certificate ID, or we can upload a consolidated schedule. If you do not have a template, because the template is changing from what you currently use, if you are a consolidated filer, you will be accustomed to doing this through our current filing portal. And that template will be changing. So if you don't have a template, you can select the Download Consolidated link, which allows us to download a blank template prior to filing your return. For today's demonstration, we're going to upload a previously populated worksheet by selecting Upload Consolidated. This will prompt your file browser window to open so that you can select your file. And once you have done that, you can select OK. Please note that the total sales and use column to the right is now populated. If everything looks good, select Next to proceed. If your upload, just a note, if your upload does contain 0 sales, you will be asked to confirm filing 0 returns for all of your locations. So here we are shown a sales breakdown based on your uploaded file. Please review everything and make sure it looks good before selecting Next. So because we have demonstrated this return previously, we're going to continue to advance through to the total due section of the return. And again, please make sure that everything looks okay and that the total tax shown is correct. If it does look okay, select Next. And as I mentioned it during the last return, if you have entered amounts for cost of goods or bad debt, or if this was an amended return, this is where you would attach those documents to support your credits by selecting the blue Add Attachment link, which we did previously demonstrate. For this demonstration, we're going to select Next to proceed. And here we are shown the balance due and asked if we would like to make a payment. We're going to say no and select Next. And here we're shown a summary of data. Please review everything and then select Next. And to proceed, you must read the declaration and select the box. Again, entering the name of the person submitting the return twice for verification, and then you can select Submit. And there's your confirmation number that you can print for your records. At this time, if you decide you'd like to make a payment by check, you can select the Print Voucher / Pay by Check button and print the voucher using your browser print functionality. An example of that voucher is showing on the screen right now. All right, so let's talk about some additional new functionality for managing those multiple locations, which we also call branches. So under the Sales and Use Tax section on the Summary tab, you will see a link titled Manage Locations. By clicking this link, you will see all of the locations that you currently have active. You can edit these locations by clicking on the blue pencil to the left of the location. And this will open the location information where you can request to close the branch, change the location name, the location start date, or update your physical address. At this time, we're going to request a closure by entering the location close date and answering the required yes or no question. We're going to say yes because we're really sure that we want to close this location, and then we can select OK. So note that a location closure date has been added in the last column to the right. To add a location, because we decided we're going to open another retail location, you can select the plus link under the active locations or to the right of the screen titled Add Location. When you add a location, you will be required to add the fields marked with the red asterisks. And all of those required fields are the same required on the original application. So this is completely new functionality. This allows you more ability to add locations, close locations. It's all up to you. So when you have reviewed the information and you made sure everything is correct, you can select Add. And here we're back at the active location list, and you can see that your new location name has been added. To complete the process, select Next and then Submit. Your new location will be immediately available to you. Our next activity will be to demonstrate a single location service provider tax return. You're only required to file a service provider tax return if that is what your business is engaged in. Not all businesses will be required to file a service provider location. It depends on you and your business. It is a new return in the Maine Tax Portal, so we wanted to show the function of it. So here we're going to navigate to the Summary panel and go to the Service Provider Tax section. We will then choose the View and File Returns link. And again, select File Now on the period that we want to file. We'll see those required demographic questions, select those that are applicable, and select Next. We will now enter the services that relate to our business, beginning with the gross services. which populate the taxable services, and then provide a breakdown of taxable services in the next section. This is pretty standard. This is what you do now. So the return hasn't changed. It's just how you do it. So when we have completed the return, we're going to select Next so that we can see the total services and tax amount. If everything looks correct, select Next. And again, if you have any bad debt credits that you're claiming, you can upload your supporting documentation at this time. We don't have any, so we're going to select Next, where we'll be shown the balance due, and we can make a payment. You will be asked if you want to make that payment, and we're going to say no and select Next to proceed. Here we can see a summary of the tax calculation and payment amount. Everything looks great, so we can select Next. And again, we'll check the required declaration box and enter the name of the person filing this return twice for confirmation. You can then select Submit to receive your confirmation number. We have received a number of questions about debit block numbers and the current EasyPay system and filing systems. The EasyPay system is our payment-only portal. So the debit block number that you currently use will not be changing. You'll still continue to use that same number if you do use one. However, as Michael mentioned at the beginning, after May 31st of 2023, the EasyPay system and the iFile portals related to sales, use, service provider, and withholding and meters will no longer be available for use. All payments and tax types for R2 taxes should be made using the Maine Tax Portal. So that concludes mine and Tabitha's demonstration, and I'll turn it back over to Michael. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Lori. My pleasure to now introduce Jason Marple. Jason, please take away your presentation now.
Thank you so much, Michael. Hello, everyone. So another great presentation from Lori. I hope you all enjoyed that. I'll actually start now by passing along some important information about using our portal to pay liabilities that are due. So there's actually a couple of payment options available to you within the portal, and we'll go ahead and demonstrate those now, such as making a payment on the account and requesting a payment plan. So while paying the tax in full at the time of your filing is the requirement, we do realize other factors may come into play that prevent you from making payment in full. So there could be additional accrued interest and penalties for filing in or paying late, or even an adjustment to the tax due after the return is filed. We will go ahead and continue with the business that was used for the earlier demonstrations. Please note on the screen here the Make a Payment hyperlink, which can be found in each tax type panel. Clicking on this Make a Payment will allow you to pay a debt for the tax type in the panel the hyperlink itself is located in. So today we'll go ahead and make a payment towards the sales and use tax. And this process is similar to that which was shown earlier. So we'll start by clicking on Make a Payment hyperlink. This will take you to a payment screen. We'll start by selecting the bank account type, which would be either checking or savings. We'll enter the bank routing number next, and this should pre-fill your bank name once entered. And then we'll enter the account number twice. And notice here, you'll have the option to save the bank account information for future use. For this demonstration, we'll select No. On the payment type drop-down menu, choices of payment types are available, and these depend on the tax type you are going to pay. To pay a liability, account payment and return payment are your options. The account payment allows you to make a general payment and apply it to any balance on the account. The return payment applies the balance towards a specific filed return. And today we will select that return payment. And here you will select a specific period to apply the payment towards. You may only select one period per return payment, and there would need to be a balance due. But for this demonstration, we will select the period of January 2020. If we're going to select the period and the due date has passed, the payment due date is today's date and is not changeable because it's already past due. If the return has a future due date, you may choose a due date up to that date. For today, we'll go ahead and select today's date. Next, we'll need to specify a payment amount. And on returns that are past due, you would have a choice of paying the current balance or an other amount. Keep in mind, If you pay a lesser amount, this may cause interest and penalties to continue to accrue. For returns that are not yet due, the amount is a free-form entry. Today, we will select Other Amounts and enter 300. We'll need to go ahead and re-enter the dollar amount, and then we'll click Submit. And here we'll be asked to enter our Maine Tax Portal password, and this will confirm our payment submission. And we'll click OK once that's done. And we'll be presented with a confirmation page, so please make note of or print this number for your records. We will click OK, and this will bring us back to the summary page. So if needed, you will have an option to make a change to your payment or even delete it while it is still pending. You'll find this under the More tab at the top, and then on the left, we'll click on Search Submissions, which is in the Submissions tab. And then we'll click on the hyperlink of the submission to change, which in this case is the payment at the top there. So we'll click on that, and now we're brought back to the payment. So you can see that. From here, though, to make a change to it in the upper right-hand corner, we'll click on Continue Editing. So now if we wish to edit your payment request, this screen's interactive now, so we can edit as we want. And once you're finished with those changes, just simply click on Submit. And again, prompted to enter your password to confirm this change. And then we'll click OK. And you'll be given with a confirmation number. And this is your proof of the change to the payment. So we'll go ahead and click OK since that's been taken care of. If you decide you don't want the payment and you'd like to delete the request, that's simple enough. In the upper right under Continue Editing, just click on the delete key, the delete hyperlink, sorry, and then click on Yes. And then OK. So that payment is deleted. From here, we're actually going to click on Submissions and then the business name. And this will bring us back to the main page here. Before jumping on to the next topic, if anyone has questions, please feel free to ask those on the bottom through the Q&A chat button. At any time, we'll be happy to take a look at those and try to get you some answers. So next, we're actually going to demonstrate how to create a payment plan request. So this request payment plan option can be found within the More tab. We're currently there right now. And this is available for anyone who is unable to pay the balance in full when they filed. So from within the Payments and Returns panel here, select Request Payment Plan. And before proceeding, just ensure all required tax returns are filed. If there's missing returns, this could cause your payment plan request to be delayed or not approved. So there is a Save Draft option, so you can pick up later if you don't have time. This is a pretty quick process, so you may not even need this. Also at the right near the Next button, there is a Previous button, and this will allow you to go back a page if you need to modify your entry. So we'll begin by designating the payment plan schedule we wish to submit. So first, there's options for selecting either all debt, which includes the full balance, even those that are not yet due yet, or there's current debt, which excludes future amounts. So for this exercise, we're just going to select current debt. There's an install type selection here, which can be input as either number of installments or an actual installment amount. So if you select number of installments, this number cannot exceed 12 for 12 months. If you select an amount, the monthly amount would have to be $25 or greater. If you select the lowest number of installments or highest dollar amount, this will reduce the amount of interest and penalties that would still accrue. So today we will select number of installments and then enter 3 in the next field. So now we will indicate when we'd like the first payment to become due. You only have a choice between 10 to 14 days from today's date. So after you choose your date, you can click Next. So, and what's presented here for us is the installment breakdown. So you'll want to review this. If you're not happy with how it looks, maybe there's too much penalties or interest. Again, you can click on the Previous button and maybe increase your monthly amount or reduce the amount of months that you're on for the payment plan. If you're satisfied with how it looks, you can click on Next. And here, this screen is will allow you to select the bank account for the automatic withdrawal of your payments. So you may add an account if one doesn't exist yet because you're new here, or if maybe you wish to use a different one that's already available. So keep in mind, if this payment plan is approved, those electronic monthly payments will automatically come from the account that we designate in here. So because none exist, we'll go ahead and click Add a New Account by clicking on that hyperlink there. So we'll begin. We can enter in an account nickname used just for the portal here. And we'll be prompted to enter the bank account name, bank account number, and then the routing number. And we'll have to choose whether that's checking or savings, similar to before. And then if we're finished, we'll click Add, and this should add the account to our available bank accounts. If that's one we want to use, we'll click Next. Okay, so here's a confirmation screen. So this is important. This has detailed information about the payment plan, which you will have to acknowledge. So be sure to read this in its entirety before you submit. Once you've reviewed that, select I agree to the terms listed above, and then on the right, click Submit. So here our payment plan request has been submitted. Please keep that confirmation number for your records and click OK. And I've just got a few things to have you make note of. So this payment plan request is always subject to Maine Revenue Services approval, and the act of just requesting a payment plan does not delay collection activity that may be ongoing. If the payment plan is approved though, and while it remains active, any debt within the payment plan itself will cease. So payment plan requests, they're reviewed by the end of the next business day, and upon approval, an installment agreement letter will be sent to your Maine Tax Portal account, and this will just outline the terms of the agreement there. If it's not approved, or maybe we need more information, a Maine Revenue Services staff member will be sure to reach out to you via telephone to discuss further. That does wrap up the payment demonstration today, so thank you all for listening. I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to Michael Fortin.
Thank you, Jason. Great job to our presenters. We'd like to invite our audience to pose any questions in the Q&A area at the bottom of the Zoom screen. We've seen quite a number of questions come in already, and we'll be having a little Q&A session here in a moment. We'll answer some of those questions live. So if you have additional questions that you've not asked, now is the time to bring those forward. Please do that at this time. And while we're waiting for any remaining questions to come in, we'll take the opportunity to look at the Maine Tax Portal information page, which you will find very helpful. It has a wealth of information that will, I think, help answer a lot of questions about the portal. So on your screen right now, you see the Maine Revenue homepage. This is simply maine.gov/revenue. We're going to scroll the page down and take a look under the section Important Updates. You see the heading there. The third link down where it says Important Information, the Maine Tax Portal, we're going to click that link. And that will bring us right to the Maine Tax Portal information page. If you'd like to navigate to this page directly and just skip the Maine Revenue homepage and type in the address, you can type in maine.gov/revenue/portal, and it will bring you right to this page here. So let's take a look. At the top of the page, we'll see the Maine Tax Portal is here, and there's a logo there that you can click. That will bring you right to the Maine Tax Portal itself, where you can log in and use the system. But let's scroll down a bit and see what other features we have here. So let's notice the upcoming training webinars. So many of you, like today, are continuing to take advantage of these webinars. We're running them until December 15th. Today's session, of course, is all about sales, service provider, and business use taxes. However, we have a different session next week, which will highlight withholding business equipment tax reimbursement, or the BETTER program. There's also an additional feature, too, next week, as we do focus a little bit of time on how third-party access works. One of our presenters, Rachel, goes through a presentation on how that works and gives you a demonstration of it. So that's a good session to go to. If you've not gone to that session before, we encourage you to sign up for next week as well. The beginning of the segment, we will have another review of just the basic overview of the portal and how to log in and create your portal account and register a new business. So those pieces will all be the same, but we will focus more on those tax types that we specified earlier. And the other thing is there's an upcoming payroll service provider webinar, training webinar in October. You see a couple of dates listed there, October 11th or October 12th. You can pick one of those dates, but again, especially for payroll service providers. And we will be, during that session, we'll be highlighting third-party access as well. So more opportunities for training. Let's scroll back up to the page and just talk about a couple of other important things. You'll notice a link there where it says view the R2 welcome letter. So all existing businesses should have received a letter welcoming them to get to know the Maine Tax Portal for Rollout 2. And there's information in that letter about the dates and so forth and all the details that everyone will need to know. If for some reason you didn't get that letter or you misplaced it, you can view that letter right here on the website. You can click it and it'll give you all that information. It's a very helpful document because it has a lot of things all in one place. It's easy to find. Let's also look at the instructional videos there. It says check out our instructional videos. We're going to click that link. And you will find these very helpful as well. These are short videos on a variety of topics about the Maine Tax Portal. They're organized into sections on the page. You can see the Get Started section at the top, and then as we scroll down, file a Maine tax return, and then further down yet, making a payment, and then estate tax. So if you find a video there that would help answer a question or give you some familiarity with a feature that you intend to use, it's a great resource to have. You can peruse those at any time. Let's scroll back up to the top and point out a couple of important videos especially for our practitioners who may be attending today. There's always questions about how third-party access will work and how a third party, an accountant or practitioner can access their client's Maine Tax Portal information. So there's a couple of videos that explain how third-party access works, and we encourage you to check those out. The video in the top row there, where it says setting up a third-party account on the Maine Tax Portal, that middle video there, that will explain how the third-party access yourself, like a practitioner, could access the third-party features. And then a companion video to that in the second row down, managing your Maine Tax Portal account, will explain how the taxpayer can turn that access on their side, because it requires both the practitioner, third party, and the taxpayer to each have a Maine Tax Portal account, where those access requests are initiated by the practitioner, right? They will send in a request to access a person's Maine Tax Portal account, and then the taxpayer, business owner, will go in and on their side need to approve access, approve that request, and then the connection can be made. So those videos do explain that process and how it works, and we encourage you to check them out. So let's also take the opportunity to go back a page, back to the Maine Tax Portal information page, and look at our contact information. So if you have a question, if you've thought of something that you'd like to ask and wish you had during today's session, please send us an email or give us a call. Our contact information is listed there. So the email address is taxpayerassist@maine.gov. I'll give that to you again, taxpayerassist@maine.gov. And our telephone number is 207-624-9784. Once again, 207-624-9784. Okay, thank you for your attention on that. So we're going to now open up the floor for questions. Lori's going to come back, and she is going to address some of these questions that have come in.
I'm going to try to come back. All righty. So we do have some good questions today. And let me first, I'd like to give a little explanation of how our current, this may take care of some of the questions, but I'll go through and make sure. But our current filing portal works by registration number. So if you, for example, had a sales tax account, a use tax account, and a service provider tax account, all three separate IDs, you would be required to log in 3 separate times and maintain possibly 3 different passwords to file and pay your tax returns for those tax types. So under the Maine Tax Portal, you create your username under an entity, whether that is a federal ID number or a social security number, it doesn't matter. But all tax types that you have that are registered under that particular entity will be available to you in the Maine Tax Portal. You don't have to create a separate username and password for each tax type. It's entity based. So that leads into the second question, or the next question, which is, if you have multiple businesses with different EIN numbers, can those be under one payment portal? You can't, not under the Maine Tax Portal. It is entity based. So if you have different EIN numbers, you have to register each one of those EIN numbers in the Maine Tax Portal. So when I say register, I mean create a separate username and password for each entity. You can have different bank account numbers for payment. Certainly, you can use the same one if you'd like to. It won't verify, but you can set up all of your entities with that same tax, with that same payment channel. You can have multiple users. However, with that said, what happens is the first person, or the person that first creates the username for the Maine Tax Portal is the owner of the account, essentially. So you can create different users and usernames, but the first person who creates one is the owner. So that may be a conversation for you within your business. Okay, so currently you show rental sales tax amounts as fully paid, so no balance is due. How will that change as taxes are submitted by a third party? So what I'm thinking that this means is that you are a casual renter, meaning that you may have a separate property, you rent out a home on a temporary basis. Say you have a vacation home that you rent out on a temporary basis, and you go through a third party that takes care of that for you. It won't change. Your process will be the same. However, you are required to file a return, just as you do now. So your third party that is collecting that sales tax will file a return under their account, but you will also be required to file a return showing gross and exempt sales if you do not have any separate rentals on your own. So I hope that covers the question that you were asking. The next question is, will we be able to amend sales and use tax returns directly through the Maine Tax Portal? Absolutely, you will. There's a caveat to that. So when you go into the Maine Tax Portal right now, an amended return is actually, amended returns would be natively, or how do I say this? You would file an amended return on a return that was natively filed in the Maine Tax Portal. If you want to create or correct a return that you filed in the current portal, you would go in to the Maine Tax Portal when it goes live, and you would file a return based on the correct figures, meaning the way that it should have been filed originally. And what will happen at that point, probably giving you a little more information, but that will create a process for us inside to make that correction for you. So you can file an amended return, and we'll take care of it for you on our side. But you can file an amended return. And eventually all returns filed through the MTP will have that ability. It will be very seamless to you. Let's see, what if you know your ID number but don't know the date of the letter? I think that you're referring to the letter ID number but don't know the date of the letter. That would require that you contact the Taxpayer Service Center in order to find out the date of the letter, because the date and the letter ID number are required to create a username. But remember, we did show that if you have filed past returns, you can use the figures from any of those. So there's an alternative method. However, if you are a brand new account and you don't have any past filed returns, unfortunately, you are going to have the letter ID and password. Not letter ID and password, the letter ID and date. Let's see. Okay, I think I've answered that one. How do we set up a second user? Just like you created the first one, you just go in and create a username and password. It's the same process. Again, though, I'd like to mention that the person who gets there first and creates it is the owner. So again, maybe a discussion for you and someone within your business. So I think that covers all of the questions. We are all out of questions, actually. There are none left.
Nicely done.
We did a
Lori.
great job.
Thank you very much. Well, let's take a moment to recap all the things that we've talked about today. There's important takeaways that we want to make sure that we are reminded of. One important takeaway is, of course, the date when this all happens, right? So December 1st of 2022 is when the Maine Tax Portal will become available for most Maine businesses to file and pay taxes and view notices and so much more. So you can visit the Maine Tax Portal information page at maine.gov/revenue/portal to learn when you can get started for your specific tax type. And it's also important to note that after May 31st, 2023, our existing systems, iFile, Meters, and EasyPay will all be deactivated for sales, use, service provider, and withholding taxes. You can prepare for that transition by printing your filing history from iFile prior to May 31st, 2023. And just to highlight, of course, that any of the information in those existing systems, iFile, Meters, and EasyPay, will not transfer to the Maine Tax Portal. The Maine Tax Portal is a new system, separate system. So if you are interested in retaining any of the history in iFile, you need to print that out before deactivation. And we also want to recap those important resources we talked about. We mentioned it a few times, but it never hurts to just commit those to memory. It's the Maine Tax Portal information page at maine.gov/revenue/portal. And if anyone has a question about the Maine Tax Portal, here's the phone number to call, 207-624-9784. And also the email address. Send us your emails to taxpayerassist@maine.gov. Okay, so I think that's everything. So in closing, we hope you have thoroughly enjoyed the Maine Tax Portal webinar. I'd like to thank our panelists and, of course, all of our support staff that helped us today, and finally, all of our attendees, each and every one of you, for your time today, taking the time out to sit with us and learn this new system. It means a lot. It's very important and it's very helpful. As a reminder, we have recorded today's webinar. It can be viewed by anyone who is registered who may have missed a portion of today's program for any reason. Tomorrow, all of the registrants will receive an email with a link to the Zoom site where you can view the recording. And it looks like most of the questions today have been answered, but if there were any that were in the queue that we would need a little bit of research on, we will be sure to get back to you, through email following the webinar, and be happy to help in any way we can. So I think that's everything for today. We will now conclude the webinar. We wish you all a great rest of your day.